Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Wednesday, and all of our guests today are brought to you by our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. More on Able a little bit later. Just ahead of Jeff Paterson from Sakaris and Price. We're getting a lot of this ripping into you and I, and not Ryan. Yeah. From Druken's dentist, again, Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. So sitting Schenn is a good idea, but don't sit Horvat. Come on, Rick, and this Druken's dentist going after you. There have been others that have gone after me.
Okay. It's so simple. They're close to trading Schenn. They were not close to trading Horvat. When Ryan was pumping Horvat to sit him, well, I mean, when he was saying to sit him, it was weeks before he got traded. Like, come on. Big difference.
I thought there was another chapter to the story for a second.
Anyways, you know what I mean.
Yeah. And well, plus there's and I realize Bo has a family as well. But
exactly.
There's a real serious family situation with Luke Schenn to consider.
Yes.
Okay. There. Take that, Druken's dentist.
Druken's dentist.
We love you. All right, from Sakaris and Price, the Rink Wide podcast, Jeff Paterson, thanks for doing this, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Donnie, and I was thinking just before the break there, this would be a great service for all of your guests if you provided them the questions before you went to commercial break, and then they would have like the commercial to process them and think about it, and then we'd come out of the break on fire. So I like that. Yeah.
We like to do things off the cuff here. I don't know if you know that, Jeff. It's kind of it's kind of the way this show goes. I was going to ask you because you tweeted out something about Riley Stillman surprising a large amount of ice time a couple of days ago. Then lo and behold, last night happens. He gets just 12 minutes, and they had a very tough time. The Stillman-Myers pairing. Just your thoughts on where Riley Stillman stands with Rick Tocchet.
Well, I think that they liked what they had seen to a degree, but the question is how much is too much? And he set a season high in Detroit in the loss at the tail end of the last road trip, and then he outdid himself. Was it the Ranger game? I think he was up over 22 minutes. That's too much, but when you take OEL out of the equation, all of a sudden, say what you will about OEL, but he does still play significant minutes on this hockey club. Riley Stillman became number 2 on the depth chart on the left side. Now, Christian Wolanin called from Abbotsford, and I think he's looked all right in the first couple of games. He looks fairly assertive when he's out there. But the defense was just a complete disaster last night. And it obviously starts with Tyler Myers on for all 4 goals, as you pointed out. I just keep thinking to myself, like, I know you talked about Rick Tocchet, but what about Adam Foote? Like, Adam Foote was brought in credentialed as they come with Stanley Cups and, just the history of his success in the National Hockey League. And he was brought in to help this defense corps, but you just wonder, like, is there any helping a guy like Tyler Myers at this stage of his career? And we've seen Rick Tocchet here recently with these, boot camp practices and blowing the whistle and walking guys through every play. And that's fine. I mean, you can tell them what you want them to do, but the minute the puck drops, the coach can't be out there guiding them around the ice. And it's such a dynamic sport. And it just feels like Tyler Myers' decision-making with and without the puck is what gets him into trouble. And boy, did it ever last night. And being behind the goaltender on 2 of the 4 goals, that's, I don't imagine that Adam Foote is instructing Tyler Myers to do what he can to slide in behind the goaltending. I know goaltending hasn't been great for this hockey club, but Myers, it just, again, the defensive miscues that wind up in the net. And because he's so big, like, he stands out, and all of his mistakes just seem so loud. But, man, there have been some tough nights for Tyler Myers in a Canucks uniform. I would think that would have to go right up there near the top of the list. So Myers and Stillman as a pair, it's not great, obviously, but if this team is going to lean as heavily as it does on Quinn Hughes and Ethan Bear, and they want to see that pairing, then you're going to have to let the chips fall where they may with the rest of the defense core, and obviously no Luke Schenn now as well. So, the problem for me was that was Nashville. Like, they don't score very much. They didn't have Philip Forsberg. Ryan Johansson left the game halfway through. This is not an offensively gifted hockey club, but if you look at what's coming down the pipe for the Vancouver Canucks after the game in St. Louis, they're at home to the Boston Bruins, the best team in the National Hockey League, and then they have to turn around and they got to go down to Dallas, the top team in the Western Conference. So what happens then against those types of teams? They're just going to pick the Canucks defense apart, as other teams have already done this season. So, the coaching staff's hands a little bit tied, just in that, this is who the Canucks are. And I think, over these final 25 games, there's probably going to be a handful of more, long nights ahead.
I know Rick wants to ask you about the Luke Schenn situation, but before we do that, you mentioned Tyler Myers being behind Colin Delia a couple of times. Remember Alex Edler doing that back in the day. But we were talking about ice time with Riley Stillman. The other issue with ice time right now, going back to Rick Tocchet's first few days with the Canucks, saying, I don't want to play my stronger players too much. Miller and Paterson, I know it was an overtime game, but Miller and Paterson over 25 minutes. Quinn Hughes played over 30 minutes. Are we getting mixed messages from Rick Tocchet?
Yeah, absolutely, Donnie. And this is something, again, that this team has told us now, that it's not about results, it's about the process. Well, guess what? I think everybody in hockey knows that Quinn Hughes is a really good player and that Elias Pettersson's a really good player. That was a career high, by the way, for Elias Pettersson last night at 25 minutes and 17 seconds, just the second time in his NHL career that he's crested 25 minutes in a game. And as you said, for JT Miller, the third time already this season up over 25, but last night was a season high at 25.58. So, if it's about the process and results don't matter, then I just don't think you can have this discrepancy. And I get that they were down and they're chasing, and it's always sort of the coach's instinct to, try to get back in a hockey game. And to do that, you're going to lean on your best players. But again, everybody in hockey knows what Hughes and Pettersson are capable of. Do we have any idea where Vasily Podkolzin is right now with his game? What about Jack Studnicka? What is Jack Studnicka? What can Jack Studnicka be to the Vancouver Canucks? Dakota Joshua got the early coaching bump. He scored in 2 of the first 3 games under Tocchet. He has gone ice cold, and he barely plays now. 10 minutes of ice time for Dakota Joshua, and that was helped by a little bit of penalty killing time for him. So, again, I don't need 30 minutes of Quinn Hughes. Tocchet and Foot may feel that they do because of what's happening lower in the lineup, but I want to see some of these other guys, and I think the Canucks have to be prepared to sink or swim with some of their younger guys, Nils Amon as well, who got sent down to sort of regain his confidence in the American Hockey League, and he's looked all right, but he was part of the group that was out there for that 3-2 goal that was an absolute fire drill in front of and behind Colin Delia last night. So, they're going to have to find a way. You can't continue to lean on these top-end guys. You can do it when a day off. They've got a day off today, so it's a rest day for all of those players. But still, there's too much of a gap between the top end and the lower end. If it's about the process, I need to see some of these younger guys, and I think the organization needs to as well.
Yeah, but Jeff, you say younger guys. Podkolzin got 7 minutes last night. 7! Yeah. Hoglander, they're not bringing him up because he's 2 games away from, he has to go to waivers if they send him back down. And Ratu, in 8 games in Abbotsford's got 1 assist. He's -5, Jeff. Where is the process? You're out of the playoffs, play the young guys, but they're not playing the young guys. What do you do?
And I'm a little concerned about Podkolzin, and I don't want to write him off at all, but again, I keep coming back to the fact he's a top 10 pick. Like, there has to be some expectations. He's got 1 goal in his last 24 NHL games spanning back to last year, and obviously this season was broken up. And, I think it was the right call to send him to Abbotsford to try to regain his confidence and rediscover some of that offense. He didn't light the AHL on fire, but he looked good in those first couple of games after the call-up in New Jersey. He scored at Madison Square, and you thought, okay, like he got a goal, so maybe this will do wonders for his confidence. And as you said, under 8 minutes of ice time last night.
7.
I'm just not. Yeah. I'm not sure where it's. I don't know where it's going. Tocchet was. He had high praise for Podkolzin after the first couple of games, but right now, he clearly finds himself on a fourth line, and a fourth line that just isn't getting used an awful lot.
Canucks did shoot the Predators last night, especially when you look at the stats through 2 periods. Another positive, Andrei Kuzmenko gets 2 goals. Was sitting him, benching him, the right move for Andrei Kuzmenko? It looks like it.
Yeah, and credit to Kuzmenko. You hear Rick Tocchet say, like, this was a guy that, he took it like a champ. He came into the office. He wanted more video work with Sergei Gonchar. He wasn't pouting, but yeah, I mean, it felt like it went on a little too long. To me, it was 3 games where his ice time was really diminished. It started with the game against the Rangers at Madison Square, and then from there, we didn't see an awful lot of him. The wild thing is, through all of this, I mean, he has been incredibly productive. 7 goals for Rick Tocchet since the coaching change. So even with some limited ice time there in the middle, 7 goals, and all of them at even strength, although I guess last night's game with an extra attacker, but no power play goals under Rick Tocchet. So Kuzmenko's been highly productive at even strength. And, again, this guy has scored on the power play. I think he's got 9 power play goals on the season. So he'll probably get an opportunity, and I would think he will add to his total with some more power play goals. But in the here and now, and it's only 11 games, but under Rick Tocchet, 7 goals in those 11 games. So, it certainly doesn't look or feel like there was any kind of a rift. And, if Tocchet felt that some tough love was required, that's the road he went down, and Kuzmenko has responded. I'm glad to see he's back with Paterson. There's undeniable chemistry there. It's the right place for him. It's the right fit for him. I want to see Elias Pettersson have a run at 100 points. He's certainly put himself in pretty good position with the 5 points the other night. But to get there, he's going to have somebody on his line that finishes. And so that line with Beauvillier, I mean, they spent most of the night in the offensive zone last night. I know Pettersson only had 1 assist, but I would say to Rick Tocchet, maybe scale back the ice time just a touch. You don't have to ride those guys as much as you did, but that seems like a pretty good combination, Pettersson and Kuzmenko. I would stick with those 2. And for now, Beauvillier has been a pretty nice fit and has been pretty productive as well. So, I mean, it seemed curious in the moment, Donnie, but method to the madness, I suppose. And they've come out the other side here where the coach and the players seem like they are on the same page now.
Your hoodie goes incredibly well with your fireplace.
Very nice.
It's a perfect match.
My brother's fireplace. I whispered
okay.
for a couple of days. So thank you to brother and family. But it's not black, but there is some black in it. I'm trying to fit with the theme here tonight or today. So doing my part.
Yeah, we're the New Zealand rugby team today.
Johnny
Jeff,
Cash.
Thanks for this. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff Paterson in the wake of the Canucks 5-4 shootout loss to the Canucks.